If you've been around the channel long enough, you know we like to talk about the business of 3D printing. But we do that a lot in podcasts and not a lot in main channel videos, so let's talk about it. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and if you have a 3D printer or you're looking at getting one, chances are you've thought about how to make a little extra money on the side or full-time with your 3D printer, and I'm here to tell you a lot of what you hear out there, it's gonna be a bunch of malarkey. Unless it's telling you to leave a like and get subscribed, because we like to talk about this kind of stuff, and we're gonna do it more often, so stay tuned. We're gonna be talking a lot more about the business behind 3D printing and how you too can do it. But it all starts with that base. A lot of people say, go to school, get a business degree. I've got 2 of them. While they have been helpful, I don't think that a college education is any substitute for just getting out there and figuring it out. The whole F around and find out mantra is not a great way to do business, but it's certainly not a bad way to learn, because at some point you're going to make the mistakes. Schooling or otherwise, you're going to make mistakes. And unless you got a bunch of bands, wait, I got these from the dollar store. Not these bands, but you get the idea. You're gonna end up basically, well, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. I don't own boots, so shoelaces, sure, it's a shoestring budget, okay? Let's just get that out of our heads. Yes, I went through this work to find those props for this video. You're welcome. It is recommended that you have at least 6 to 8 months of experience running a 3D printer and doing it well with minimal failures. Whether you're running something like a Prusa, a Bamboo, Creality, Sovol, or any of the other machines out there, what you know is what you know, and that's what you should stick to. Even the cat knows that this is not an overnight process. Looking at other businesses can be a little difficult. Looking at big people like Shapeways and Sculptio and how they've turned it into a multi-million-dollar venture when you just have one FDM printer, not exactly the fairest of comparisons, obviously. You can start slow. We always recommend that you find a market that you know. If you're a car person, stick in the car market. If you have a lot of agriculture near you, stick into that. The farmers are great target markets, assuming you can get into working with farmers. Good old boy businesses are tough to get into, but they're really lucrative once you can get those contracts. Starting off small, making parts for friends and family, getting feedback from people, maybe setting up an Etsy store, doing something unique, and posting in the forums that you might already be visiting. You know, the ones that don't limit third-party API access. I'm not looking at anybody specifically. Those places are where you are already present. If you come in brand new, somebody that has no experience to a forum and just starts posting about how they're able to offer something, you're a shill and nobody wants you around. You have to be assimilated into that group already. And if you're not, you must take the time to learn their ways, because remember, it's their community, not yours. And when you can make it part of your community as well, that's when it might be time to look at talking about what you can do to help people, or showing how you solve the problem for yourself. That's always a great thing to do. When we look at costs, there are a lot of them involved in 3D printing, and the biggest one might not be what you think. It's your time. Your time is incredibly valuable, and if you don't value it, you're gonna be underpricing considerably. The people out there that tell you just to undercut everybody because you can are ones that don't understand a business that needs to survive. You are trying to build something from scratch, and just being the cheapest person out there and that being your only differentiator is not something that makes money. Sure, if you have no costs, no expenses, and you're already pulling a salary from something else, go ahead and charge as little as you want. You really don't have anything to lose. But you're not going to be able to put the time and effort into it that somebody who this is their full-time gig would be able to. Be mindful of that. If it's your part-time gig, run it like a part-time gig. If you want it to be your full-time gig, remember, dress for the job that you want, not the one you have. Says the guy in a polo, but at least it's got branding on it, damn it. And take it seriously, because ultimately, these people are gonna make or break your business. It doesn't take very many bad interactions with people to set you down a path of no return, of getting bad reviews. Realize for every one single-star Google review that you get, you need between 40 and 50 5-star reviews to make it effectively disappear. That's a big deal, considering that in the now on year 7 that 3D Musketeers has been open, we have only amassed about 50 5-star reviews total. So remember to treat everybody with respect, even if they quite frankly don't deserve it. When you are looking at pricing your product, take into account what it looks like for you. People will expect some sort of volume discount when they hit certain amounts. But realize your time is probably not going to go down all that much. So if you are going to reduce the price, you're basically cutting into your margin. If your machines are not making at least $4 to $5 an hour for you when they're printing, you're not making any money at the end of the day. Now, you can build an entire process for pricing a product, or you can just stick to a number that you know works. Don't be afraid to adjust your pricing as it goes. As we've talked about in a previous podcast, which we'll link to, if you are selling products right now, chances are you're probably too cheap and need to look at raising your prices. And I don't say that because, oh, I'm a capitalist and that's what I want. No, it's probably because you don't value your time the level that you need to. Because remember, if you double your prices and lose half of your business, you are making more money, because that extra money that you just doubled is pure net profit. So there's no extra labor involved. And while that might sound completely counterintuitive, that's business. At the end of the day, if you do want to do this full time, you gotta take it as a full-time business, and you gotta start treating it like one. I was recently on the Maker That Money podcast talking about the business behind 3D scanning, and something that they do there is they talk about going from the hobby to the jobby, and that's what so many of us want to do, because we don't want to be beholden to somebody else. We want to be our own bosses. But then you remember things like healthcare, and what is a vacation? What does that even look like? I've had one in the 7 years of running 3D Musketeers, and we did it at the end of the Rocky Mountain Rep Fest. If you are a Patreon member, you'll know we filmed a lot of content out there. And if you're not a Patreon, PayPal, or YouTube channel member, you can join. Links are in that description down below to see the over 3 hours of extra content where I wore a POV camera on my shoulder. We took beautiful B-roll of just our tooling around inside of Denver, Colorado. I spent a lot of time in this industry just burning at both ends. As they say, if you burn your candle at both ends, you burn out a lot faster. And it resulted in a lot of burnouts. You gotta make sure to take care of yourself too. Now, I've gotten pretty lucky. Got a pretty awesome person in my life, and it's not just the cat, who really does help out a lot to make sure that everything is going okay. Amber will help out around the house where I need it, and just generally be there for me. And that matters a lot. And if you're doing this on your own, having somebody that you can talk to is incredibly important. Whether that be a significant other, or most importantly to me, would be a therapist. They say that an average business needs 2 things, an accountant and an attorney. But I believe a small business needs a third thing, which is a therapist. You probably don't need an attorney right now. Having an accountant doesn't hurt unless you know how to do your own books, but you definitely need a therapist. Don't let your mental health get away from you. We've talked about this a couple of times on the podcast. We'll card to one of my favorite episodes with Nick Ange, talking all about imposter syndrome and how it can be a real detriment, but it's not as bad as you think. Go watch that. I think you'll enjoy it. But you also need to look at what everything is costing you. Do you want to get one Prusa, or do you want to look at 3 or 4 Sovol SV06s for the same price? That's a tough one. If you have some other experience in the industry, you might say, I'll roll the dice on the Sovols, knowing that I have a complete extra unit to spare, and if I have parts that go bad, I can salvage it from other printers. With a Prusa, you're buying a machine with a warranty. That's going to come with 24/7 chat support that knows what they're doing. And there are a lot of people that are utilizing Bamboo Lab printers for their print farms. I know quite a few people that have gone full bamboo, and it's working out well for them. But if you have an experience like mine, you're gonna regret spending that kind of money, because it seems to be a bit of a hit or miss. I haven't met anyone that's very middle of the road about bamboo. You either absolutely love their printers, or you're having a terrible time and absolutely hate them. And I worry about you being on the side that I'm dealing with, which is not great, versus the one where a lot of others are, which is it's doing fine. And by the way, actually, I am 5 months deep into owning a printer from Bamboo Lab, and I really still don't think that I've gotten a good machine. We will have a review coming up next month of my first 6 months, my Bamboo Lab X1 Carbon. So if you're excited for that, get subscribed, because that's gonna be a deep video. But it also comes down to maintenance. How quickly and how easily can you maintain your printers? You are going to have failures, whether that's blobs of doom, stringing, retraction issues, print heads jamming, random things that will occur only when you have deadlines. We talk about having more capacity than you need. If you only need one printer, it's good to have two. If you need two, it's good to have three. Once you get above 5 printers, I like to normally have 2 spares, because when you get 5, all right, we're starting to talk about an actual business here, and it's good to have more spares. Spare hardware, spare hot ends, spare heaters, spare thermistors, all the common parts that go bad. That's good to have those in stock, ready at a moment's notice. The last thing you want to do is wait a day or 2 for Amazon when you need something now. If you are blessed and have a Micro Center near you, you are able to walk in there and get parts. Micro Center should really sponsor us. If anyone's got a contact there, let me know. I definitely never traveled 15 hours round trip to go to a Micro Center. Nope, that computer still functions to this day. But nonetheless, you have to make sure you have those parts on hand, because a machine failure when deadlines are looming can be a disaster. Believe me, I know it. When we went away from Colorado, I left 4 machines running for a tight deadline part for a client. All 4 of those machines failed. 2 of them were Prussias. Sometimes the universe just isn't a fan of you, and you gotta deal with it. I don't like it anywhere as much as the rest of you guys do either, but it is a fact of life when it comes to these businesses. These are not industrial grade machines, and they're not designed to do the kinds of things that we are going to do to them. So you gotta be prepared for things to break down. And you also have to take into account the amount of labor it's going to take to fix it. That's why we like the Prusia system with printed parts. I can keep an entire spare set of printed parts to build another Mark 3S or Mark 4 or whatever on hand. So if a part breaks, it's an easy thing to replace. If I get a blob of doom and it destroys my part cooling fan, great, I've got spares. I'll put a new one in. Oh, it ruined my 5015 blower fan. Great, I have a spare one of those. Put it in. All of those things start to matter. And if you can make it faster and easier for you to do, you have just made more money. So the cheap printers might be an option, but in the long run, we find that you do sometimes get what you pay for. So be aware, while I do really like the Sovol SV06 and the SV06 Plus, in fact, we've coined the term poverty Prusia around the shop because that's really what they feel like. And our Discord calls them the small PP and the big PP because, I don't know, they're degenerates. In a loving way. We end up with really a decision. Do you want to roll the dice on a printer with not the best support, but you're going to be able to get 2 or 3 of them for the same price as one with premium support, with a warranty, that is valuing open source, and has an amazing sustainability report, which we'll card to that video on it so you guys can take a look. And we'll link to the entire podcast that we did, actually, for a part of it, interviewing Vladimir, who was the author of that report, which is pretty cool. I think you guys will enjoy that one if you liked the main channel video on it. I don't know where I would stand. As someone with 15 years experience, I think I might go with Sovol, but that's because I know what I'm getting myself into. I understand the risks, and I've already built up an inventory of parts, and I know the upgrades that I would do. If you're wondering what those upgrades will be, stay tuned. We have an upcoming video which will be attached with a live stream where we do the mods to make a Sovol SV06, and then another one for the SV06 Plus run like Swiss watches, because it's not going to take much to make them run much better than they already are. And then maybe Clipper's in its future. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about adding Clipper to those machines. And that level of maintenance should and will affect your end pricing to your customer base. If you are having to work on your machines more and more and more and more, that starts to be a huge problem, where you're spending more time fixing your machines than you're spending making money with them. I know this feeling. I've been there. Heck, I'm there right now with one of the printers in our shop. It's the Bamboo. And I'm not a fan of it because I'm spending all of this time literally just throwing out parts, and nobody likes doing that. So looking further at the future of growing this business that you want to make, there are some key things that you should keep an eye on. 1, your target market. Who are they? What do they do? Where do they shop? How do they get their stuff? 2, market penetration. How can you get into that market? We normally recommend to stick with a market that you know best. If you like doing things for laser cutters, then make something that works with laser cutters. If you happen to be in a system where you assist those with disabilities, great, utilize 3D printing to help with that. And if you're a car person, great. There's tons of modifications that you can do to cars that will help make the lives of the drivers easier. Just, be careful about risk factors. Manage those risks. Don't make parts like bumpers for cars with 3D printers. That's not safe. But cosmetic modifications and spare parts and replacement parts for old cars, hey, it is what it is at some point, right? Keep an eye on your mental health. If you don't keep an eye on that mental health, it's gonna creep up on you and it's gonna be a problem. So start dealing with it now if you haven't already. I recognize that a therapist is not cheap and come at a much higher expense than you expect, but you're gonna have to trust me on this one. It's a lot better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. When it comes to pricing, whatever price you're thinking of, it's probably too cheap. Take a look at all the labor that you're putting into your parts and pay yourself a fair wage. And that is not $15 an hour, because at $15 an hour working a full-time job, you're missing all these extra benefits. Health benefits, medical, dental, vision, if you get any of those things. Paid time off that you would get in your day job on top of that $30,000 a year salary, which I doubt there are many companies doing that, because that's way too low. You should pay your people more than that. Please do. But if you are doing this for yourself, consider a minimum pay to yourself to be $25 an hour, because that can help make up for all of that lost money that you wouldn't normally get from your day job to help pay for those things like insurance. Now, if you're outside of the United States, that one's not as big of a deal to you, as healthcare is probably a lot more affordable. So grain of salt that, of course, depending on your location. As for actually paying yourself, if you can afford it, you don't have to, and you can put that money directly back into keeping the business afloat, looking at hiring people, looking at furthering your skills. We like the mantra of, if you are not getting smarter every day, you are falling behind. A great YouTube channel, by the way, by my buddy Destin, who does some incredible videos on amazing topics. We'll link to it in the description if you want to check it out. But the saying is true. If you're not always getting better, somebody else will instead. And don't worry, you don't have to be a tech whiz kid to really run a good 3D printing or maker style business. I am what the IT industry considers an end user, and I should never be allowed to do any major IT stuff on my own, but I still figured it out. That means you can too. Know your strengths and know your weaknesses. Talk with people, get yourself a mentor, and don't be afraid to ask questions. If you do have any questions, you can email me directly, youtube@3dmusketeers.com, and I'll do my best to answer those and help you out with your journey to making a buck or two with 3D printing. The best time to start this business was 10 years ago. The second best time to start it is right now. And while you might not think that you're ready, if you wait until you are 100% ready, you'll never be there. At some point, you gotta make sure that the water is okay to jump in, but then you just gotta send it and go for that cannonball. Make sure you have some life support around you. And if you do need to come up for air, have them be there to help pull you out. So if you need to take a break, you can. Remember, your mental health is a lot more important than you might think. And you might say, oh, I'm a tough guy, I can get through it. Tough guy only gets you so far, tough guy. And remember, what you initially started your business as is not always what it will become. 3D Musketeers started as a retail business in a shopping mall specifically designed to 3D scan and 3D print people. That's what we originally started doing. We did some service on 3D printers, but that was it. That was what we did. As the market changed, our business needed to change too. And you need to make sure that you are ready to roll with those punches. Know how to take one.
Know when to run.
Because if you don't know how to take a hit, you're gonna go down fast. If you are looking at making your own parts, there is so much more to this, including copyrights, patenting, trademarks, etc. And if you want us to do channel videos on these, let me know. We've actually covered some of this in previous podcasts. One of my favorite being an interview with Seth Polanski talking all about IP in the 3D printing industry. We'll card to that video so you guys can take a look at it. That one is one of my favorite interviews that we've done in a long while. Although, really do enjoy the ones we have with the inventors as well. We'll put those in the description if you want to see those. The Ken Johnson and Chun Ung and Lisa Lloyd interviews. Those were a lot of fun. You can make money with 3D printing. You just gotta put some common sense into it. And you might say, but Grant, I don't have any common sense. I disagree, you probably do. It's probably not as much as you want. Believe me, that's where I'm at. But you can get there. If I can do it, so can you. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Write them down so you can learn from them. Get out there, stay safe, don't forget to call your loved ones, and as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one. What's up? What's going on? Okay. We go back. Nope. What? kissed you. Good girl. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I've wanted to cover this topic for a while, and while we've done some of it in podcasts, which of course we carded to throughout the video, I thought that maybe it would be good for us to have one smaller channel video that covered it and would get you guys to where you wanted to go. If you have any further questions, remember you can email me directly. Links are in that description down below. Or of course, leave a comment. That one's good too. Right below me will be the entire playlist for the Making Awesome podcast. Well over 100 episodes, like 140 episodes now or something like that. And right next to that will be our previous video on the topic, how to make money with 3D printing. I'll see you all down in those comments and in the next one. Take care.